You cannot change your future, but you can change your habits, and changed habits will change your future. Abdul Kalam. Please help support my channel by sharing and liking this video. Remember, I am not a financial advisor.
I mean, it's not really a problem, but it's a complexity. We have 8 federal financial regulators, and we found, really tremendous kind of insight by most of them. The Federal Reserve has been fantastic. Federal Reserve has been fantastic. Federal Reserve has been fantastic. FinCEN within Treasury, I think, has been super innovative and forward thinking on this as an example.
The Fed is researching a central bank digital currency. They seek input from the private sector. Ripple is a US-based company and XRP is one of the largest cryptocurrencies. Chris Larsen has already stated that the Fed has been fantastic, implying that the Ripple and the Fed have an open line of communication. We have seen other evidence with Ryan Zagone and the Faster Payments Task Force, or the quote from Asheesh Birla that states that they're working in collaboration with the Fed. Ripple is helping the Fed modernize their system and develop their cbdc. After all, they are the expert.
The first thing to say is that we feel an obligation to understand the technology and all of the policy issues very, very well. Central bank digital currencies are now possible, and we're going to see some of them around the world. And we need to understand whether that's something that would be a good thing for the people that we serve. How would it work in our system? And there's some very, very difficult questions to answer, but I think we are engaged in a serious program to understand both the technology and the policy issues.
The Fed gets guidance from the private sector, and Ripple are experts in this field.
I would say this. We're the world's reserve currency, and that means that the dollar is used in transactions all around the world far more than any other currency. And that's because of our rule of law, our democratic institutions, which are the best in the world, our economy, our industrious people, all the things that make the United States the United States. That's why we're the reserve currency. And of course, we have open capital accounts, which is essential if you're going to be the reserve currency. So those are the factors that make us the reserve currency. I'm less concerned that another country might have a digital currency. First, ask yourself the question, does that mean that if you were a company that's doing international business, would you then suddenly start to use that currency to do your international transactions, or would you still do them in dollars, which is what everyone does?
If you are an international business person, would you rather use dollars that have your funds tied up for a lengthy amount of time, or would you rather instantly settle, allowing your funds to be free? I would choose instant settlement. That money would be in my hands until I took delivery. Even if I didn't want to hold the currency used in instant settlement, like the digital yuan or crypto like XRP, I would just convert it to US dollars afterwards.
But we haven't quite got there yet with the securities regulators. I think we will get there as an industry, but that's going to be essential if the U.S. is going to stay on top. Because frankly, it's too easy now for innovators to move to places like Singapore, which is so great to work with the regulators there, or the UK, for example, fantastic relationship with regulators that innovators have. So we got to get our act together, otherwise we're going to lose this race specifically to China, which is racing ahead.
Ripple are the experts and have the Fed's blessing. Understand that the Fed is a private entity that controls the U.S. economy. With control of the economy comes control of the politicians.
It is a tricky set of questions that we have to navigate in a world where we already have, remember, a highly evolved payment system. We have FedNow and other immediately available funds. Pretty soon, everybody will be able to do what people do in other parts of the world, which is just use their phone to make immediately available payments all the time. It'll be normal. And what would be the role of a central bank digital currency in that kind of an environment? Far more important to get it right than it is to do it fast or feel that we need to rush to reach conclusions because other countries are moving ahead. I mean, the currency that's being used in China is not one that would work here. It's one that really allows the government to see every payment that's used for which it is used in real time. It's much more to do with things that are happening within their own financial system than it is, I think, to do with the global, sort of global competition.
Instant payments are instant IOUs. It's not the same thing as instant settlement. The developments Powell is bragging about do not offer the same benefits as China's CBDC or instant settlement. As I said earlier, if I was an international businessman, I'd go with the option that frees my capital until settlement. China is the largest exporter and producer of the most goods. If I pay an exporter with instant settlement rails, it's the exporter's privacy concern, not mine. The Chinese manufacturer lives in a world without privacy. It's their norm. I'm going with the fastest, cheapest option that allows me to control my wealth until payment. And I'm sure American businessmen would rather use XRP than China's central bank digital currency.
And transform the society. For example, the Ripple. Invest in Ripple at a very reasonable price. After the current lawsuit, Ripple will go public. And the current CEO wants to do that. Chris wants to do that. How much would it be? And I have more than 10%. Other three will also go public. And we are, again, the largest outside shareholder. And what will be their price? Think about it. So,
after clarity, Ripple will go public. R3 will go public. This opens the door for SBI to buy majority shares in both companies. Once they have majority shares in both companies, they can force a partnership.
It's conceivable you have a sort of a massive, almost global MCBDC, system where all these currencies would be traded and exchanged between the participants. But at least in the initial stages, it doesn't have to be. And if you look at the projects that we're implementing, it's a relatively small group of central banks. And the basic design feature of an MCBDC arrangement is that you put CBDCs, wholesale CBDCs, that each of them is issued on the same platform, distributed ledger, for example, that can be traded amongst the participants in the system. So they, in a sense, they don't need the reserve currencies to settle payments between them. They would simply trade their holdings of each other's currencies for this purpose, at least on one level. So the question is, you can start small, I think, with a relatively small number of currencies and then build from there.
Massive global MCBDC platform without the need of a reserve currency. Will this platform use Interledger Protocol? Why was Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of a fintech, on stage with Ross Leclau? Why do they have this type of rapport? The Fed is also involved in the BIS Innovation Hub, and we heard earlier what Chris had to say about the Fed. One thing is for sure, by the time there's an official announcement, it's too late.
I think that time will tell whether or not the SEC's theory about whether that somehow XRP qualifies as security is actually correct. That's why we have courts, and that's why we have a legal process to resolve those kinds of questions. I think in the meantime, one of the things that has struck me as much as anything about that particular suit is that it signaled pretty clearly that the SEC is paying attention to these things. And I think that was true when that suit was filed. I think under the new chairman, it's going to be even more true that these are now issues that are capturing the attention of the senior most people at the SEC and frankly, their overseers in Congress. And so, in a lot of ways, I think this is a perfect validation of Professor Brummer's earlier point to the industry, which is congratulations, you've made it. You're now important enough to matter to the SEC and other important regulators in the United States.
Ripple caught the attention of the SEC. I wonder if Ripple became the SEC's focal point because of official news or rumor in the financial world. This case is going to provide clarity to XRP. The OCC is giving guidelines on banks using crypto rails. We are in a bull run with higher prices, therefore higher liquidity. We are in a perfect storm of utility.
This is going to be an issue that's going to have likely repercussions for a range for many crypto assets. I think there are attempts underway, and there certainly will be in the future, to think through both the legal status of the of crypto assets that have already been issued, but serious thinkers and market participants and regulators are also again trying to grapple with decentralization and sort of what okay, here's just for the law school students studying, what does decentralization mean for the Howey test? There is no decentralization prong of the Howey test, despite what people say. Just like there's no legal definition of a utility token. These are sort of terms of art, and even within the industry, they are at times highly contested. Like when is an asset or crypto asset decentralized is a question that even market participants don't always agree on. And so, when you get to those kinds of issues and they become then legal questions, how do you apply that doctrine is also going to be really interesting. Many times, and what we've seen over the last couple of years, we have had informal guidance, and it's useful to stress that a lot of that guidance is actually informal. And it's there are different kinds of rules and regulations that carry the weight of law, and one of the perhaps underappreciated actors in the rulemaking process is as Paul knows better than any of us, are our courts, and I think that's going to be it's going to be highly interesting to see just how they come down, and even whether or not interventions by our courts also spur new forms of regulatory responses in rulemaking or responses from Congress.
We are in unprecedented territory. What happens with Ripple will determine the outcome for all of crypto. The Howey test will be updated. Congress will need a taxonomy like we have seen in other parts of the world. Ripple is cutting the line of the long, arduous process of Congress with a judge's ruling or settlement with the SEC. I can imagine Ripple's friends at the Fed, at the CFTC, at the Treasury, at the White House, etc. are putting pressure on the SEC to settle. It's only a matter of time. When the SEC settles, how long will it take for a bank to utilize XRP? Will it be the flip of the switch moment? The timing certainly makes sense. Creativity is seeing the same thing but thinking differently. Thank you for liking, watching, and subscribing. If you enjoy my work and wish to support my channel, please consider joining my Patreon. Remember to hit the bell.